Good morning, would-be farmer, Central Florida, somewhere between Orlando and Jacksonville. Something that's been bothering me lately, I don't want to throw this out, is what people do with permaculture. Talk about what people do with permaculture, besides try to control mosquitoes. And I'm going to be smacking them off my hand, so the camera's going to be jittery. We love our Florida. Hey, mosquitoes do pollinate. They pollinate. It's a serious subject. It's about integration rather than segregation. That's the 8th principle in David Holmgren's epic book in 2002, Principles and Pathways Beyond Sustainability. I think the official title is Permaculture, Principles and Pathways Beyond Sustainability. All right, I'm going to take the camera off my morning face and give you a little bit of scenery, and then I'm going to talk about the subject matter of integration rather than segregation. So let's give you a look at the land. We are out in our scrub area as I trip over vines. Right here we're at was referred to as an edge area. I am standing in the edge, in an ecotone, if you will, between the scrub area and a forest area. Hence the vines I was tripping on. So, again, the 8th principle of David Holmgren's 12 principles of permaculture. Integrate rather than segregate. The almost universally agreed upon ethics of permaculture are earth care, people care, and fair share. Fair share, not as straightforward as earth care and people care, which are easy to process. Fair share, kind of an all-encompassing ethic that includes returning the surplus of permaculture, the yields, the benefits to earth care and people care. So if I have a permaculture property, which I do, and let's say I'm growing a lot of food and I'm turning a big profit eventually, I've got stuff going here. I have zero or very few inputs from outside my permaculture farm. I'm earning a good living. I'm driving a couple of big cars. I got enough money to buy an extra house, a vacation house, so I can travel to the Hamptons. Well, that's not exactly the idea of fair share that I see in permaculture. Of course, everything is open to interpretation and is subjected to our own biases, right? Fair share. Well, Bill Mollison talks about one of his chapters, I believe it's chapter 1 in his epic 600-page book, Permaculture, A Designer's Manual, which is from, I think, 1988. He says it is obscene in a world of limits to acquire more wealth, power, money, possessions than one needs. So, fair share. Fair share also includes limits to population and consumption, of course. Limits to population and consumption. Okay. So my college roommate who has 10 kids, that wouldn't exactly fall neatly into the permaculture ethics. the permaculture procedures, principles, sorry. Trying to get the trying to get the gate closed. Well, shushing mosquitoes off my hands. Okay. So as I continue my ramble here, fair share. Well, what's fair share? If you have more than you need to return it to the people. So all the people everybody needs to eat. Everybody needs to eat. Well, that's not exactly capitalism run amok, is it? That's not exactly the capitalist approach that assumes unlimited resources. It's not exactly as we say, good use of resources and making sure everybody gets fed, returning the surplus to people care. That's like my own people care. I care for me. All right, so I started out talking about integration rather than segregation. Let me get this mosquito from biting through my shirt. Woo, baby. Mosquitoes are tough. I gotta pick up the pace a little bit here. Once I slow down, they come for me. All right. Well, when you look at the integration versus segregation aspect of Holmgren's chapter on his Principle 8, most people look at that, and most of the writing is it's about getting diversity of crops together, getting all your elements together, putting the water in a good spot, putting your water features in a good spot, like your water collection systems, like a rainwater collection would be nice if it's higher than the elevation of most of your property, so you could use gravity for irrigation, gravity for the water. You want all the concepts irrigated. You want integrated. Sorry, you want perhaps your area where you have your chickens to be near your garden, so it's easier to carry the manure to mix it into your compost operation or whatnot. So you want things integrated and working together. You want integration rather than segregation. Well, when I look around my society, my US of A society, there's a lot of segregation in churches, in houses, housing, areas where people live. There's white areas, black areas, predominantly Latino areas. There's gated communities. There's lots of segregation, lots of social segregation. I can remember when I was in the car business, we would go to our lunchroom, like on a busy Saturday, and they'd provide lunch for us because nobody could leave because Saturday was the big day. So we'd go up to the lunchroom. Maybe 4 black guys sitting at one table, maybe 4 Korean guys sitting at another table. There's 2 guys from Pakistan, and they would often have lunch together. It doesn't make anybody a bad person. The white guys would sit at one table. It's like society has pretty much resulted in segregation in so many aspects. Well, when I think of the ethics of permaculture, earth care, people care, and fair share, they're very important social aspects of permaculture. But it's easy where I live to just gloss over those. Make sure you teach them, make sure you put them out there. Spend just a few minutes on them, and then move into the fun stuff, which is earthworks, building rain gardens, berms and swales, planting trees, getting the right trees here, there, and everywhere. Going into the fun stuff that's not going to segregate the political philosophies. Stay away from that socialist stuff. It smells like socialism. Stay away from the political diatribe. Stay away from that hippie crap. I'm a conservative. I don't want to hear that. I'm a homesteader and a prepper. I'm a save the statue guy. So if you go over too long on that, I'm going to cancel my class with you. And there goes the money. I'm going to cancel my permaculture class. So you better just kind of gloss over that. So we let it happen. We say, well, I did teach it, and eventually they'll come around. It's not what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing them come around. Not seeing them come around at all. what I'm seeing in a lot of the permaculture groups I've attended, just slightly short of a white supremacy stamp of approval. I've been to many, many, many permaculture gatherings in Florida. Almost all white people. We've got to figure this out. I don't see this as integration. I don't see this as integration at all. And it's tough. Community is tough. Integration is tough. Well, if we want to integrate, let's take a look at segregation. See what are our feelings there? Okay, I'm a 60-year-old white man. All right. Let's say I have a 15-year-old white granddaughter. She's hanging out with black guys. Okay. Do I need to approach her and say, hey, that's a tough life. If you fall in love with one of these guys and want to get married, that's a tough situation for you. You're going to have all kinds of pressures, etc., etc. Okay, well, that might be fair. Telling her the truth about things. But if I grimace, if I think less of her rather than more of her for wanting to integrate, if I think less of her, if I think she's low because she's stepping down or stooping, bro, that's straight up segregation. And if that isn't racism, I don't know what it is. And that's what I see so often here. I see people say, oh, we're integrating. Are you really? Are you really? Because I see a lot of people who are homesteading and prepping who want nothing to do with blacks and Latinos. They want to do their white thing. I see a whole lot of that going on here. I see a whole lot of that in Florida. And I think it's a disservice. When permaculture teachers gloss over the ethics. So what they're doing is they're allowing these people to come in, work the program, spread their own permaculture poison, ignoring and neglecting. And then you have groups and groups and groups of people. There are groups online, thousands of people. They don't want to hear anything about integration and segregation. They don't want to hear anything about it. They don't want to discuss it. There are permaculture groups that are permaculture groups nice and easy, permaculture groups no politics, etc., etc. Permaculture is politics. It is politics. And you know what? It ain't capitalism. It is socialism. Let's get it together, teach it the way it was taught by Mollison and Holmgren.